Hello everyone and welcome to this another episode of 2D prototyping in Unity. My name is Kasanas. In the last episode we built ourselves this plant cannon right here. We built ourselves the plant cannon and we built ourselves a spore that the plant cannon is going to shoot off. We covered a number of techniques of animation, or a different technique of animating, as well as building this character. So we built this character from individual parts and we animated each of those individual parts as well. Alright, so far so awesome. I don't think at the end of the last episode, or maybe I did, let me just make sure. I don't see it in here. Make sure what you've done is, where's my cannon? Make sure you grab your cannon plant, drag it and drop it into your prefabs folder, and that way you're going to have the cannon plant available to use whenever you want to. Alright, so make sure you've done that. I did that with the spore at the end of the last episode, so that is awesome. In today's episode, guys, I want to cover the code in order to make this thing actually work. All right. I think we're also going to build a little particle effect to make this thing look a little fancier as well. All right. So let's get started. Okay, guys. So I think what we're going to start off with is the code. We're going to start off with the code to make this thing operational, and we'll make it look extra pretty a little bit later on. So the first thing, what we did. And there was really, we could have done this a number of different ways. And I kind of put this originally in this envelope character here called the cannon plant envelope. It's like the main game object in the hierarchy, the parent in the hierarchy. And I put everything else underneath it. And that's fine. That's how I did it. We've got ourselves within this box collider 2D. We've got, within this cannon plant, we've got a box collider 2D, which is the area that we're saying is the danger area for our character to be in. And, you know, let's make this a little bit bigger for now, just for hilarity's sake. Let's make it 18. So if you're anywhere near this guy, he's going to start shooting at you. And let's apply that. Boop. Okay, so anywhere within this box collider, it's a trigger. So if you're anywhere within this box collider, we want this guy to start shooting. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to add a component. And it's going to be a brand spanking new script. And let's call this script, I don't know, shoot spore. I'm really bad at names, aren't I? All right, let's open up shoot spore. Boop, boop. There's shoot spore. Good. It's got that effect again. Boom, boom. All right, there's shoot spore. And shoot spore, like I said, is in the main and the parent of this entire thing. If you walk into it, I want you to be able to shoot the spore. Now, first thing it has to know is what's a spore, right? So public, and we're going to call it. This is a game object, and we're going to call it the projectile. That's fine. So it can be anything we want. The projectile. The next thing we're going to have to know is, just like we did with the character shooting, we had a public, and we had the amount of time it took for the character to shoot. So a float, and it's going to be called shoot time. That's how often it can shoot. And the last thing I want to do is I'm going to have a new public. And I didn't add this before, and I should have. A new public transform, and this is exactly how we did the other character as well. And we're going to have the, let's call it shoot from. So shoot from is the location on our projectile on this thing that we actually want this projectile to be launched from. The same way we did the character's cannon. All right. We're going to add a couple of private variables here. We're going to add in the float. And the float is going to be used to determine when the next shoot time we'll call it, next shoot time, when the next time this plant can actually shoot its projectile. So how often it can shoot and when it can next shoot. And this last one that I'm going to add for now is an animator. And this is going to give us a reference to our animator, so we can actually, let's call it cannon anim. It doesn't really matter what we call it. Cannon anim. This reference to our animator is going to allow us to make animation occur on this thing here. Now, let's go back right now. We're going to add a few things. Let me just say this for now. File, save. Let's go back here into our actual thing and add a few things. Now, what I want you to make sure, that this cannon is the topmost child. All right, cannon plant. The next thing, cannon anim. If not, you can move these things around just by dragging and dropping it like that. Bam. All right, I just dragged it and dropped it around. You can drag these things and drop them. All right, make sure that cannon so the center part, is immediately below the cannon plant. That's going to become very important because we're going to look through the children of cannon plant, all of these, and we're going to try and find, we're going to try and make sure, like we're going to try and look for the actual animator. All right? And we're going to find the first animator we find, and we're going to use that one there. That's how we're going to operate this cannon. Okay? So make sure that's there. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add a child. Make sure that it's going to go in the wrong spot. No, it's good. It's down there. And let's call this thing here. Let's call this one here cannon opening. Cannon open. Cannon tip. Cannon tip is fine. I'm going to give it an image to use, and let's use what did I made a blue. Let's use blue here, and let's put it. Let's click on it again, cannon tip, and let's drag it and drop it right there. That is great. All right, that's our cannon tip, and that is going to be what we use. Let's apply this. Apply. That is what we're going to use to launch out our spore. So our spore is actually going to launch right from that location. All right, let's go back to our code. For a second, with those two things in mind, let's keep going. All right, so in this start, the first thing we have to do is we want to have a reference to our cannon anim. All right, and as long as it's been aligned like I just told you, you're only going to find the first one. So get components in children. Get component in children. Bam. Sorry, not in parent. That's a lie. Get component in child. I think that's what it is. Let me do this over again to make sure. Equals. Get components. I only want component in children. Right there. Get component in children. All right. And what we're looking for is obviously our animator. Animator. And boom. Close it off. Done. All right. That is the first thing we want to do. That's the only thing we actually want to do in our start. That's the only thing we really need to initialize. Next shoot time we can initialize to. Next shoot time is actually going to be 0. So we can put that in here if we want to. Or we can do that up here. Might as well just put it here. Next shoot time is equal to 0. F. All right, so it can shoot immediately. As soon as it sees the character, boop, it can start shooting right away. If you wanted a delay, you could have, but I'm not going to put one in. All right, so we're gonna initialize those two things. We don't need anything in our update at all. What we do need is we need code located in the on trigger event. So void on trigger stay, because that's what we want to shoot. Whenever the guy's in there, on trigger stay 2D. And just like before, we've got ourselves a collider 2D. Wrong way. Collider 2D. That we're going to call other. And close it, bam, and close that off. Okay, so now that is the function that we're going to use. This is the function that we're going to use in order to shoot our thing. So what do we have to know in here? We have to know a number of different things, first of all. First of all, we have to know if the other dot tag equals player. All right, if it's not our player, we don't care. We're not going to shoot at the boars or anything else. All right. The second thing we have to know, so we can use a double ampersand, and if our next shoot time, next shoot time is less than the current time, time. All right. So as long as our next shoot time is less than our current time, then we actually want to go in here and have something occur. All right. So it's our player and the shoot time, and the shoot time is ready to shoot. What do we do next? Next thing we want to do is we want to immediately set our next shoot time to time, equals time dot time plus our shoot time. All right, so this is going to reset when we can shoot next. All right, because basically I'm doing that here because basically I want to set up a random occurrence of this spore. It doesn't always shoot the second you walk in the door. It doesn't shoot at a constant rate because then you're ready for it. You're the player. You're ready for it. You're saying, okay, good, it's going to shoot at me, great. So what we're going to do here, and I think we're going to actually change something here. We're going to change. We're going to add one more public variable in here, and let's add it right underneath shoot. Let's add it underneath shoot time. Public float, and actually let's make this an int, not even a float, an int, so an integer, and we're going to call this thing here, percent, No, chance of shoot. Chance shoot. Chance shoot. All right, chance shoot. So what we're going to do down here now that we've already determined that, yes, it's our player, and yes, we can shoot, we've adjusted our next shoot time, we're going to check and see if we actually do shoot. So we're going to use if, again, and we're going to use the same thing we used before, this random dot range. So this random dot range is going to generate a value between 0 and 10. All right? And if that value between 0 to 10 is greater than or equal to our chance to shoot, then we actually want to instantiate, nope, not tree instance, we want to instantiate, where is it? Where's my instantiate? Now let's do this first to make sure we can do it properly. Boom, 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 there. Okay, so if that's the case, we want to instantiate. And the reason why it wasn't showing up is because I didn't actually have these brackets closed off. If you close off your brackets, it'll complete for you. I actually want to instantiate my projectile. So instantiate the projectile. Where do I want to instantiate it? I want to instantiate it at the shoot from. Was that what I called it? Yep, shoot from position dot position, comma, and I want to shoot it from the, and this is something new, quaternion identity, dot identity, which just means no rotation. All right, so that's what I want to happen. And if that has occurred, if I've actually shot off a spore, I actually want to run the animation that is going to allow this thing to look like it's been shot. So I want to go to my animator, my Canon anim, dot, and I want to set trigger, because if we remember correctly, set trigger, we set up a trigger over here. Let's go take a look and see what it was called. Canon animator. It was called Canon shoot. So we want to go set our trigger, and we want, which trigger do we want to set? We want to set Canon shoot, and that's all we want to do. Boop, boop, bam. All right. We want to set our Canon shoot, and in doing so, it's going to automatically run. It's going to go over here, like we looked at last week, and it's going to go into here. It's going to say, okay, shoot the cannon. It's going to run the animation for shooting the cannon, and then after a certain amount of time, it's going to come back into the cannon idle. All right, perfect. That's all we need to do. That's all. Let me move this back so you guys can see it better. That is all we need to do within this shoot spore. Perfect. The next thing we need to do now is deal with the spore after it's been shot out. So let's go back and let's take a look at our spore. Let's actually dump one into the scene up here. Bam. Let's put it at 0, 0, 0. All right. So this is our spore. We created it in the last episode. And what I want to do now is I want to add some kind of force. Because if I just did this right now, all that's going to happen, if we just ran this right now, our guy would run in here, our spore would go and just fall out. And we don't want that to happen. We want this spore to have some kind of a forces applied to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new component. So let's go down into our spore. Let's go into our spore here. I'm going to say add component. I'm going to say a new script. And let's call this thing here, let's call it the Spore Controller. Boom. And let's open up Spore Controller. Oh no! I want to save. Save. I hate it when I don't save things. Alright, did I save it? Did it work properly? Okay, good. Everything is still here. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need you. Alright, so this thing is all still here. Great. Spore Controller. Now, there's a number of things we need for the Spore Controller to work, for the Spore to work properly. First of all, I want to know I want to have a public, and it's going to be a float. And this float is going to be the highest speed, the most amount of force that the spore can have applied to it. All right, so let's call this speed. Let's call it spore speed high. So I know what it is. Spore speed high. All right. I also want to have a public float spore speed low. So some value between here is how fast my spore is going to come spurting out of the cannon. All right, and I also need in here a private reference to my rigid body 2D, and we'll just call this thing here Spore RB. All right, and that's going to allow us to directly affect, that reference to our spore rigid body is going to allow us to directly affect the rigid body of the spore. All right, so let's go into our start menu. This is the only place we're going to do anything here. It's basically just initialization. What I want to do is I want to, first of all, find my spore RB. And like we've done a billion times before, we're going to get our component. Get component. And of course, it is our rigid body 2D. Oh, rigid. Now I got to type the whole thing. Is it big B? Body. No, it's little b, isn't it? Body 2D. Perfect. Boom, 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 boom. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our reference to the spore, our rigid body. Great. And now we're going to act on this thing here. And we're going to use two different forces we're going to apply. First thing we're going to do, spore RB dot add force. So we're going to do an add force. We've already seen add force before. And this is, of course, a 2D force because we're working in 2D. It's a 2D rigid body. So a new vector 2. Vector 2. And it's going to be, we're going to use our random range to kind of get this thing spurted out in some random direction. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say it's going to be a random range in the X. And I probably should have put an angle in here. I should have probably made a public angle that it can shoot out at. You know what? I will. I won't be so lazy. I'll just do it. Public float. And we'll call it spore angle. Spore angle. All right. So it's a public 2D. We're going to use the random dot range like we used before, and it's going to be between the values of negative spore angle, comma, and spore angle. Spore angle. All right, so between negative spore angle and spore angle. So some value between there for our x. All right, and our value for our y is going to be some random range, random dot range between, you guessed it, our spore speed low, comma, and our spore speed high. Okay, boom and boom and boom. All right, all three of my brackets. That is our first one. So we're going to get some kind of random force applied to the spore itself, some kind of random force. Oh no, one thing I want to add in here, and I forgot to do so. I want it after this one. Comma. There's one more thing we can add, and it's the force mode, and this is going to be an explosive force. I'm going to use force mode. Force mode 2D. Force mode 2D dot, and it's going to be an impulse force. All right, in the same way we did the impulse. Is that not right? It should be capital I. Why didn't it autofill that? Impulse. Perfect. And make sure everything's good. Everything's good. All right, so it's a long line there. Basically, we are adding a force. It is in a random direction in the x and a random direction in the y, and we're doing it as an impulsive force, which means, why does it say impulse twice? Come on. Delete, delete, delete. Move over so I can see you. Delete, delete, delete. All right. It's going to be an impulse force, meaning that it is an explosive force. Boom, it's been shot off, and that's it. Shot and forgot. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add another force on it. Tab, spore, RB again. And this time we're going to add a torque. So it's going to actually have a spin to it, just for fun. Add torque. Bam. And the torque is going to be a... let's add another public float spore torque. Spore torque. How do you spell torque? Torque angle. Spore torque angle. All right, and it's going to be our spore torque is going to be a random range, random dot range, and it's going to be between negative spore torque angle. I should make these names smaller, and spore torque. Oh my god, it takes so long to type. Angle. All right. So, and I'm missing one. close bracket. All right, that's it. One more close bracket. Boop. All right, so that is it, guys. That is going to control how our spore actually leaves the cannon. Let me save this. File, save. Great. Now, if I've typed everything right, this should operate as we expect. The first thing I want to do is make sure that my spore, let's find our spore. I don't want to collect the background. Our spore, let's apply it so it now is the same one we've got down here. Great. And we can delete it. Delete. Backspace. No, delete. All right, so with that done, now when I hit, let's mute our audio so we don't hear it. Oh, I got some errors here. Spore, torque. I didn't spell it right. That's why. Let's take a look. Where is my... Let's open it up again. Let's get my spore. Boom. Open up Spore Controller. Is that where it was? I think so. Spore, torque. Where did I spell it wrong? Here's right here. Spore, torque angle. File, save. Let's see how we're doing now. Console. Nothing else. Clear. Mute. Maximize. Let's see if this works. All right, so I should be now in this range. Oh, nothing's going to work because I didn't fill in any of my actual stuff in here. So first of all, the spore itself, let's give it a high of, I don't know, this is just a guess. Let's try a high of 20 and a low of 10. Let's give it an angle of 20 and a spore torque of 45. That should be fine. And we also have to fill in a little bit more stuff. We have to fill in on the actual cannon plant. Let's go get it. Let's go over here and take a look. On the actual cannon itself, we had a bunch of stuff to fill in down here. Animator is good. Nope, it's not on there. It's on the cannon plant. I lied. The projectile is, of course, going to be, let's go to our project. It's going to be our spore. Drop it in there. The shoot time, let's say it can shoot every, let's make it pretty quick for now, every half second. The chances of shooting are 1. I think, let me go back and take a look at the code. How did I write that code? Shoot spore. So if it's greater than the chance to shoot, so yeah, I'll put it down low. The lower this number, then the better chance it is to shoot. And lastly, the transform is going to be the cannon tip. All right, file and save. And I think that should be pretty good as far as the everything that's needed, I think. So let's give it a try. Let's hit play. Come on and work. All right. There we go. It's shooting way too fast. So it's only actually, you know why? We're not seeing it pump that many times. Like if we would look at it again, we're only seeing it pump every once in a while, and that's because my exit time is too high. All right. So we're going to go back here, and we're going to go into our cannon animator. Find the animator itself, go into our exit, our transition, and let's make this transition very small. All right, and let's try playing that again. And we're still shooting too fast too. Oh, and we still have an exit time. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see what's going on with this one. Let's make this like this, and we'll turn off exit time. Play. There we go. There we go. That's what we wanted to see. All right. It's obviously shooting off way too fast, so let's make a couple of little adjustments. Let's go to our actual scene. Let's go to our actual cannon plant shooting and say the shoot time is going to be every 2 seconds, and the chances of it actually shooting are going to be much higher. Let's say it's 5. All right. And looks like we actually wanted to add a little bit more value to our spore as well. So first thing I'm going to do is go to my cannon plant. I'm going to apply this so everything is sexy. And let's go to our spore down here, our prefab spore. Let's find it right here. And let's change our value a little bit. This is kind of shooting crazy. Our spore angle 20 looks like it's maybe too much. Let's change this to 30 so it goes up higher. And this to 20, so it's also a little higher. Our spore angle, let's change it to let's change it to 15. All right, and let's play. Now let's see how this is working. Whoa, that's shooting way too high. All right, so it's not 30. It's like 10, and it is our low angle is 5. Let's try that. That's what game design. A lot of game design is about tweaking, guys. Let's see. Spit something at me. That's too low. Let's see. Those are rolling like crazy. We actually want to give it a little bit of angular velocity as well. In our spore itself, let's go take a look at our rigid body on our spore. Right here. We want to give it a, let's go find our, here it is. We want to give it a little bit of angular drag. An angular drag will actually cause it to slow down in its spinning. Let's make this a little higher to like 0.25. These are all just values, guys. I'm actually not going to keep playing with this because we're running late now, and I don't want you guys to miss out on anything else. So I'm going to adjust these values a little bit later on. You guys play with your values as well and see what you like. Let's go between that and that. That was probably much better. Check out your values and see exactly what it is you like. For now, I'm just going to leave it like this, regardless of what's happening to it. And we're going to add one last thing, which is a puff of leaves that I want to kind of spit out at me. Spit one towards me. There. That's shooting really far. Really far. All right. So, guys, one last thing I want to do in this episode, and that is create a little puff of leaves with a particle effect that's going to occur every single time we shoot, just for a little bit added effect. You know what, guys? Thinking about it, I think what we're going to do, instead of me actually going through and creating the particle effect for you, I want you guys to do it as an exercise. I have no ability to give the people at home the opportunity to do exercises, and rather than hand them everything, I think I'm going to tell you guys, make your own particle puff, make your own particles come out of this object whenever it fires, and to do so, remember, guys, it's really easy. What you're going to want to do is once you've actually designed this object, once you've actually designed your particles, come into here, into your on trigger stay, and each and every time that you've instantiated a projectile, instantiate your particles as well. All right, every single time instantiate the particles should have a destroy me on it that go away in 1 second, or in whatever amount of time you want. So it goes poof, and then it goes away, poof, and then it goes away, poof, and then it goes away. Do it like that. All right, guys, that is going to be your homework. Because I am handing you guys a lot of stuff here, and that's a good thing, I think. I think a lot of you enjoyed the fact that I'm giving you a lot of this stuff, but I really want you guys to learn. All right? So take a few minutes and go through and build yourself a particle system. We've already built a bunch of particle systems here. Go back and watch one of the particle system episodes if you need to review it. That is cool. However you guys want to do it, go ahead and do it that way, but I want you to create your own particle system and your own particle puff. All right, create a material out of one of the leaves or something like that. Create a material and then use that as your actual particle. All right, guys? Or do it any way you want. I'm even giving you too much as it is. I really hope you enjoyed that episode. We moved along pretty darn well. We've got ourselves, two enemies that we created together. This guy and this guy. We've created this thing here together as well. Hopefully, you have made yourself some additional enemies. Hopefully, you guys are moving along really well in your game design. All right? We've got a few more lessons planned before this is pretty much done. All right, and when this is done, I'm going to move on to something else. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know with a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. Let me know why in the comments. Say I didn't like it because, your design was ugly and I hated your spore, or whatever you want to say. I don't care. Tell me why you didn't like it, though, and that way I can make things better. I can improve for you guys. All right, thumbs up. Thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone. Hey guys, a quick add-on here. There's something that I messed up, and I want to show you exactly what it is. If I hit play, and I go over here, and I try and kill off this thing, 1, 2, 3 hits, look what happens. I've left the leaves there, and watch. The graphic's still there. And we're still going to launch spores every once in a while. So I screwed up. This is my mix-up. There's another spore. See, I screwed that up. And I actually screwed that up in 2 places. I screwed that up here, and I screwed that up in the killer boars as well. And the reason why is because I originally showed you how to do this this programming using the spiky rock. The spiky rock character in the game that I originally wrote doesn't actually have a enemy health script. I had left that off completely. And what I want to make sure, because I don't want it to be destroyed. I didn't want the spikes to be destroyed. I didn't want anything like that to be destroyed. So what I want you guys to do is to open up your enemy health, and I want you to change one line. In your make dead function, I want you to take a look at the game object. Originally it said destroy game object, and that only destroyed the game object that actually had the health script on it. But we don't want to do that. We want to go to the game object. We want to go to the transform of the game object. We want to go to the parent of the transform, and then we want to destroy that game object. And let me show you why. Game object. Let me save this file. Save. Let me show you why both the boar and the cannon plant. The cannon is where all the health script is and all that kind of stuff. Above that, one layer above that is actually what we want to destroy. We want to destroy this entire envelope. All right. Now if I hit play, boom. Let's go over there and destroy it. Don't hit me, you. Boom, boom, boom. Everything gets destroyed as it should. All right. I'm sorry about that, guys. Sorry. All right. I'll talk to you all soon.